A lot has happened in the news lately. Representative Eric Burlison wants to create a UFO subcommittee. Roswell police changed their patch after 30 years and it has a UFO on it. Robots are getting such more advanced in the craziest of ways. And just now, you're required to have a GPS when you're hiking up Mount Everest for reasons you might be able to guess. We'll be covering all of that and more for this episode of Strangest News of the Week. Each news item we go over in the show, I will place all the links to them in the description box below once this live show is over, as well as chapters on the timeline index. Hello and welcome to all of my first-time viewers and listeners and all those catching this live because live shows are the best. And by the way, we do 3 live shows right here on this channel every single week. So if you're interested in the strange and the mysterious, this channel is for you. So please make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let me know what article we covered today is your favorite. I'm going to share my screen here because, of course, we need to start off with the UFO Subcommittee. What is that about? Well, it kind of got started with Representative Eric Burlison, and he spoke to Speaker Mike Johnson and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries to form a committee dedicated, and they use the word probing here. Yes, probing UFOs, UAP. So Burleson, alongside several colleagues, like the ones that we're at least seeing here, emphasized the crucial need for a focused investigation into UFOs, highlighting concerns over legacy programs, financial backing, like where's all this money going kind of deal, right? And the ties between government agencies and private enterprises. Because while for you and I, we want that UFO transparency, we want that disclosure, we want to know everything there is to know about it, there is this other side to it that some reps, such as Eric Burlison, is seeing in the sense of, if there are no UFOs and nothing to see here, like the latest Arrow report had told the entire public, why are you putting so much money, so much effort, all those tax dollars? Where are they going if you already know the answer about UFOs and it's not extraterrestrial? It's not anything crazy. And you know what? He has a fantastic point. Where is that money going if and only if you already know the answer when it comes to UFOs? So here, other representatives include Tim Burchett, Anna Paulina Luna, Andy Ogles, Nancy Mace, and Matt Gaetz as well, because they are advocating for the creation of a specialized subcommittee within the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. So this subcommittee would delve into the federal government's handling of these mysterious occurrences. So it's not necessarily, at least to my understanding, attempting to understand these UFO sightings of like what's going on, such as Arrow, the UAPTF, and the AOI MSG, but more so on how is it being conducted? Where is the money going? Is the funding going straight to the agency or the project to look for these answers? Or are they being placed in someone's back pocket? So that's what that subcommittee, at least to my understanding, is about. But here, it's really highlighting the importance of transparency that the government, that NASA, and that people are really trying to convey of, we're transparent and you can bet your boots. So Burleson stressed that open disclosure is pivotal for comprehending UAP's implications on national security, fiscal responsibility, and even public confidence. This does make a big difference because with the latest AIR report that was released March 8th, it made a lot of people not trust the government even more so than how it's already been, especially those that have been following this topic at the very least since 2017. And then when this report says, nope, all these agencies from 1949 all the way to 2022, nothing to see here. But there's a lot of flaws and gaps and errors in that report that people said, I'm not really buying what you're selling here. So Burleson is attempting, when creating this UFO subcommittee, to hopefully increase public confidence. But let me ask you this. For those catching this live and even those catching this on replay, Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it's worth people's time, their tax dollars? Will they provide us information, us referring to the public here? Will it all be private information? Will it even get passed? All of these questions, hopefully you can answer them at the very least with just your opinion on these, because it's important. The more people that know about this, the more they can potentially push for a UFO subcommittee to demonstrate that the public also cares about these topics, not just a handful of United States representatives. So this is something that we got to talk about, and it's fascinating stuff. But let me ask you this question. Join says that's a big no. What? Omri says this report is a disgrace for the human race. Yeah, it also rhymes. You're a poet and you didn't even know it. But yes, it was not the best report. Android says, heck yeah, a committee is worth it. It would be an independent investigation, unlike Arrow, which isn't independent. I like the optimism, Android. Yes. SoCal says an independent council would be epic. Heck yeah, it would. I think that'd be very, very cool. Let's see. Derek says, I'm all for the UFO protest. Nice. And I see more are coming in, so please answer that question. And while you do that, we're actually going to move into our next report, making this nice and speedy. It's another picture of Burlison right here with everyone. Looks like they're on their phones. They do not seem interested. And you see this nice lady. She's like, I'm listening to you. Okay, getting into our next one. This one is incredibly exciting. Like, this is so freaking cool because last Friday, a change was introduced to Roswell's police force, showcasing a new patch design that puts a nod to extraterrestrials, that gives a nod to the Roswell history that took place back in 1947. And so this innovative patch incorporates the city's official logo, which, let me kind of zoom in for you. You're able to see it right here. This sun, um, which I have the name for it on what it's called, because it's a part of the New Mexican state flag, and I'll show you that image here. Here's that New Mexican state flag, and it's incorporated in this patch, but in the background, and it's so sick. And here it says, protect and serve those that land here. Then you see a UFO that gives the shape to the letter R. You see two little alien heads, and this is an official patch. This isn't a joke. April Fool's Day didn't come early. This is a real thing. And they were just given out earlier this week. 500 were printed, and they need to print more. Everyone's wanting these, myself included. If I knew any earlier, I would have driven all the way to Roswell to pick one up as a souvenir. Don't even care how many hours or weeks or months it would have taken me. If I knew in advance, I would have gone over there. But the distribution began just earlier this week with full adoption of this new design, anticipated by, at the very latest, by the end of the year. And the introduction of the new patch follows a period of thinking that replaces the department's previous emblem, which has been used for over 3 decades. Now, this is really, really timely. Why? I remember I said it came out last Friday. The report, the UAP report that Arrow released, came out last week. A little too timely, don't you think? But what's really cool about this patch is that there were a handful of policemen and those that work for the police force. They sent in their designs. So it felt very homey in that part where they kept it within their community to say, let's see who can create the best patch, and if we love it, it'll be printed out. So the person that won this was Support Service Sergeant Trung Win, and he was selected through like several dozen other ones that came in to the Roswell department, and they picked his, and we're able to see it right here on screen. If I were a police in Roswell, this would be like the highlight of my day. But even just the details here of protect and serve those that land here. So it's not just people. I'm talking about extraterrestrials as well. That's the fun part about this in case you didn't catch it. All right. So this has been making its rounds across the news, but what's funny is that I didn't see this come out last week. Like articles are just being written about it early this week. I would say like maybe like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was when this information was coming out, not right when the Era report was released, because that was overshadowing all the other news. But it came in at around the same time. Oh, and by the way, that sun right here that we're seeing is called the Via Pueblos sun symbol, which really does kind of blend in state pride with the powerful and imaginative representation of the city's cultural identity being the Roswell crash in 1947. If I had to say it, they're a bit late with this, but the nice thing is that they eventually did it right when the UFO topic is becoming so prevalent and so interesting to people compared to 20, 30 years ago. All right, our next one. Talking about robots, this is getting insane. This is getting so incredibly wild that I have 3 articles back to back, and we're going to summarize them all into one here because the evolution of robotics, the evolution of AI is getting incredibly, I'm not even joking when I say that, it's getting incredibly out of hand, and we're seeing it all evolve right in front of our eyes day by day. New changes are coming. So let's get into this. And actually, I'm going to just change the image. Oh, no, we're going to go back to that one. That's our next article. But with this one, and I have a video for this. So let me take this down. Let me show you the video. There's no audio, by the way. But what we're seeing here is Evolution V3.0 has kind of beat the world record for the fastest moving robot. And let me just tell you, this video it's really funny. It's funny in some ways, but we're going to point out a lot of things here as well. So I'm going to share my screen here. When it feels like it wants to share my screen, there it is. Hold on. Give me a second. Okay. Share. Here it is. Let's go ahead and play it. Because Unitree has been in the news over the last like 12 months or so, and they're always giving new updates to their robots. And this is funny, but you're able to see in the video, it says real filmed video. This isn't a joke. It's not a hoax. The Unitree, they filmed it and they put it online, and it's doing this whole synchronized dance because that's really trending right now and has been for the last few years. And it's really funny, at least to me. But they're trying to make it like look nice and simple. But in reality, this is pretty spooky stuff. So we're able to see it jump up high, able to grab things off of their robot dog that has made its rounds across social media and the mainstream outlets for the last few years. We're able to see it kind of walk on over and drop the basket on the table. And then it also does its running tests and even going up and down the stairs as well, as we're able to see right here. So let's get into more detail on this because it is interesting. What we're seeing here, for those actually listening to this on a podcast platform, is we're seeing a bipedal robot, and it has shattered the world speed record for any humanoid robot, achieving a top speed of 7.4 miles per hour and demonstrating the potential to reach up to 11 miles per hour. So standing nearly 6 feet tall and weighing about 110 pounds, this robot impresses not just with its speed, but also with its agility and balance, maintaining stability even when forcibly kicked, which we can definitely thank advanced joint mobility. Now, the kicking tests have been done in their previous videos, but this one's demonstrating a few other of its abilities that we haven't seen in full detail just yet. But we're also able to see it climb stairs with ease, navigating steps in multiple directions, and its design featuring a sensor equipped head and dressed in casual wear enhances its human like appearance. You gotta put hands on that and maybe a face to make it look a little bit more human. But if we couple this with some other updates when it comes to robots, we're getting pretty scary. I'm going to share this next video here with OpenAI, the ones that created ChatGPT. They have created a robot that's able to communicate with you in real time. There is no audio for this, but there are captions so that you can read while I also talk to you about what this has to offer. Because here it's called Figure A1 or AI, and it was used with or created with OpenAI's ChatGPT, and it's created another type of humanoid robot, which really compares to the Skynet from Terminator. However, far from being a threat, so they say, this robot is designed for basic tasks and engaging in real time conversation. However, when you ask it a question, it takes about 3 seconds to respond. Here, we're able to see on screen. And if you're listening to this, the YouTube link is in the description box below. But it gives an apple to the person that's communicating with it. It says, what's really interesting about this next scene is that it's saying, put all of this trash in the basket, but at the same time, explain to me onto why you gave me the apple. So in reality, it's doing two tasks at the exact same time. And for a robot, this is incredible. This is truly showing its capabilities, its advancements that other robots didn't have the potential to do until rather recently. But the nice thing is that it is engaging with the person in real time and also doing basic tasks like putting the dishes away, giving an apple, putting trash in the basket. And it moves. I mean, yeah, it's still kind of stiff and staticky because it's basically a new kind of robot, but in the same time, it's moving at speeds that we have never seen before. Even Sophia also moves very messed up. And in this case, this one doesn't have a face, but it's still kind of scary. But I gotta bring it into our next robot article here because it's all coming together. And if these all come together at the exact same time, we will have the Terminator. Okay, no question there. I'm going to just take this down and put in our next image here when it would like me to. It's going a little slow today, but you know what? These are lives. We get to see all the errors in real time. But now we're talking with Amica. She's famous. We know of her very much like Sophia, but there was a new test done of her, and you can find it online, on where she's able to mimic the voice of Morgan Freeman, Elon Musk, and even SpongeBob. SpongeBob is kind of an outlier here. It's pretty funny, but it's impressive on what it can do. And so while it's mimicking these voices, it's also able to mimic their speech patterns as well and what they talk about, how I talk about it, their vocabulary, and able to display its understanding on certain topics. And so Amica is fitted with microphones, binocular eye monitored cameras, a chest camera, and facial recognition software to interact with people. So in the video and even in the article, when it's mentioning on how Amica is interacting with one of the creators, asking all of these questions, that's asking Amica all of these questions, it first says, what's in my hand, what's on the table, describe the room for me, and then, okay, now give me a speech uh, in Morgan Freeman's voice on this topic. Same with Elon Musk and same with SpongeBob. So while this is kind of like cool toys right now, that's how people are perceiving it. If you mix it in with Unitree's technology running at high speeds for a robot at the highest 11 miles per hour. And then also with its interactions, the way that OpenAI interacts with people, we're able to do a task and answer a question simultaneously. And then you're able to mimic someone's voice in significant detail. Terminator. No one can tell me otherwise. This is getting pretty spooky, pretty scary, also really fascinating, pretty exciting for some. We're able to see this happen all in front of our eyes. Um, and with Amica and even with Unitree, they really do want to begin to incorporate it into factories, to do everyday tasks, to have them as maids as well, which we've known about for a few decades, but now it's becoming more into a reality than ever before. Uh, Let me ask you this, because I'm lost for words. This is spooky news. It's pretty cool. Depends on who you ask, though. But let me ask you this. Let's say you were walking down the street, maybe. No, let's change it. You're at the grocery store. We already have self checkout where we do all of the work, and yet everything is skyrocketing in prices, which makes no sense. But let's say your cashier now is a robot. Let's say it's Amica 2.0 with all the other features and all the other robots that we have just demonstrated right here on screen. How how would you react with that? Would you react to it better if it had a more human face? Would you just kind of treat it like self-checkout where you don't really interact with it and you just want to get your groceries and go? But now let me rephrase the question. What if you're walking down the street and you see a robot like Amica here, or even Sophia, walking a robot dog, and then the dog bumps into you, and Sophia slash Amica says, "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. You know what? I just damaged, your phone or your leg. Can I buy you a cup of coffee?" What would you do in that situation? Would you brush it off and say, "No, it's no big deal," like how you do with people sometimes? Would you say, "I want to speak to your owner"? That sounds terrible. It sounds awful, doesn't it? Or would you get a hammer and smash it into pieces? Serious question. What would you do in that particular situation? Let me know in the live chat. Please let me know in the comments as well. I do try my absolute best to read all of the comments because these questions, while they might seem a little comical at this moment, when it really does happen to you, if it ever does, you'll think to yourself, you know what? If Christina didn't prep me for this question, maybe I wouldn't have responded the way that I did. Don't give me credit here, but I'm just saying it's good to have these kinds of questions. Zenza Bill says a cup of coffee won't replace the ankle the robo dog just bit off. Good point. So far, no robot dog. No, actually, that's a lie. Some child robot dogs do have teeth and jaws, but these new ones, especially by Unitree, they have no faces whatsoever. So maybe for now, no biting, but in the future, it's a high chance. Paul says, I'd take the coffee. Nice. Chris says, I'd have a long conversation about life to see it from a perspective from a robot, from someone that has AI intelligence or artificial intelligence, right? Yeah, it'll be kind of shocking to see how they perceive it based off of the almost infinite knowledge that you can find online about it. But then for them to filter it out and give you an answer, okay, I can see that. Laura says, I'd go for coffee and talk. Nice. Why not? Javier says, run away. It will outrun you. And it has infinite stamina. Maybe not infinite, but it's like to charge or something. Unless it has solar panels. Then yeah, infinite stamina right there. All right, now we're getting into our next one. This, right off the bat, when I saw this image, I thought, oh my gosh, furries have infiltrated the vet clinics. Like that's what came to mind. I'm thinking, oh my goodness. But no, there's some sanity to this. Oh, there's some, just bear with me. Because employees of the Richard Wildlife Center in Virginia are doing their absolute best to act like mother foxes as they feed and care for an orphaned kit that found her way into their care. So what they're attempting to do here is for these baby foxes to not get used to human treatment, human care, so that they can be placed back into the wild. Therefore, they have these masks on. They put the one of the little cute little things on top of a plushy fox so that it feels as if it is in the wild being cared by other foxes versus humans. The logic is there, but it sounds kind of weird attempting to repeat it from my mouth. It doesn't really make that much sense, but it does make perfect sense at the exact same time. Don't you think? So, in a video posted to the Facebook page on Tuesday, their Facebook page, executive director Melissa Stanley is shown wearing a red fox mask and rubber gloves while feeding the tiny kit from a syringe. And the kit, which is like the name of a baby fox, sits on top of a large stuffed animal fox that is supposed to look like her mother, at least according to Stanley. And then that same post explains why staff are wearing the masks to feed them, minimizing human sounds, creating visual barriers, and taking other precautions. And it says here, quote, "It's important to make sure that the orphans that are raised in captivity do not become imprinted upon or habitated to animals or to humans." And that's what the post said. And so all of these measures make it more likely for this baby fox to be able to properly be reintroduced into the wild versus seeing all these big, scary looking human faces taking the care of it. But have you done this before? A lot of times when you might catch a baby bird or any kind of animal that's injured, right? You would just take care of it the way that you would without putting in these extra precautions. But here, for this Richmond Wildlife Center in Virginia, they're trying their best because this baby fox still had the umbilical cord on it. So birth was just given in those few moments. And it's believed that the fox was captured and trapped by someone. And that's why the babies were left there. Pretty sad stuff, but they are not planning on keeping it and to put it back into the wild. Here's our next one, talking about Mount Everest. Mount Everest is an infamous mountain. And I'm not using that word very lightly because in all of its time that there's been a record of deaths. There's been approximately 330 people that have died on Mount Everest. On average, about 5 deaths a year. So just recently, and I'm saying like this is awful, but just recently, people that want to climb Mount Everest are required. It's no longer an option, it's a demand to have a GPS on them while they are hiking up Mount Everest so that if anything happens to them, they'll be able to, at the very least, find the bodies. But this the reason to why this isn't strange news is because I find it strange that this wasn't done sooner. People have been carrying GPSs with them for some time, but again, it was an optional thing. Now, the crazy thing about Mount Everest is that the overall expense of the Everest expedition can exceed $35,000. I never knew that. Like that blows my mind, but it kind of also makes sense in some ways just because it's such an exclusive area to go up to the top and to the bottom to have all the equipment, to also have sometimes a tour guide to, at the very least, to get to the base of the mountain, to have mules take your equipment up there to a point before you start hiking. With the GPS, they are selling them for like $10 to $15, the size of a USB stick, and you have to sew it into your clothes. So it can't just casually be in your pocket or in your purse or whatever you carry with you when you're hiking. In this case, it'd be a backpack, not a purse, but you hear what I mean, right? They say, nope, it has to be sewn into your clothes just in case anything happens to you. There's been a lot of people, thousands of people that have had the opportunity to hike Mount Everest. But that's just a level of extreme exercise, excruciating exercise. And it also really makes you understand your body better than anyone else to go through those difficulties, to hike even when you're tired, to have a limited amount of food and water, to go through the extreme temperatures, right? Even the lack of oxygen when you get higher to the peak. All of these factors really display to the person hiking that you have to be fully aware of yourself better than in any other situation, and just to pray that you make it back to the bottom. All right. All of these things. Have you ever hiked up Mount Everest? Have you ever thought about doing it? Or is it a no go for you? Do you prefer a different kind of sport than hiking? Maybe sumo wrestling or MMA or something like that. Baseball, basketball, the sports are endless. Andrew says, better idea, just don't go. Yeah, yeah. Andrew, yes, I agree with that one. Join says, yeah, I don't need to understand my body that much. Zenza says, once you get above about 12,000 feet, 90% of people lose their breath if not using oxygen, right? Those oxygen tanks. That is true. It gets just too thin up there. Kind of scary. Kat says, my husband went to base camp Everest. Did he have a good time? That sounds pretty cool. Many people are commenting on this. That is so awesome. Yeah, Surf says death zone. Yeah, there is a certain level that is literally called death zone when it comes to Mount Everest. You are right. Okay, getting into our next one because 2 days ago was Pi Day. Now, 3.14159. That's as far as my memory goes. But here's a really, really fun fact about Pi Day. Aside from eating pie, and if you ate pie, which pie flavor did you eat? I have only tried key lime pie once, and I didn't really like it, and I want to give it a second chance. But I'm not really a pie gal. Instead, I had tres leches because that's where it's at. But here, I'm bringing this up because just recently, there was a new milestone calculating the irrational number pi to an astonishing guess how many digits it counted to recently for the last Pi Day. Just guess. It's not 100, it's not 1,000, it's not a million. It's so much higher than that. Take a guess on the latest computer that calculated as many digits of pi as it could. It was 105 trillion digits. First of all, why? Just like, why go that far? I know it's an irrational number. It's an infinite number. It'll never stop. But right now, a US based computer storage firm by the name of SolidGrim, they were able to calculate it to 105 trillion digits. Did you know that? I mean, like, I'm lost for words. And here's the thing is that it required 75 days of continuous, like, it took that many days for it to calculate 105 trillion digits. 75 days. And it used 1 million gigabytes of data, which is showcasing the immense capability of modern technology. And it was this achievement was revealed on Pi Day, March 14th. So like it's so exciting. That is so cool. And I question everything at the exact same time. Like, why? But why not? Right? Why not? Let me ask you this. For those sitting, listening in, right? How many digits can you go into pi? All right, not what you're seeing on screen here. Okay, don't be cheating. But I just demonstrated to you that my memory does not go that far when it comes to the digits of pi. But what about yourself? How far can you go? I remember back in I think it was like the 8th grade, my math teacher had like 100 digits of pi all across all across his room. And whenever I was super bored in class, I would attempt to memorize the digits. That was so many years ago now that memory it didn't stick around. That's what I used to do before you could bring cell phones into the classroom. Junior says, I can go 47 in my head, never tried any further. Like 47 digits? If so, that's very impressive. And if you're enjoying the show, hit that like button right down below and tell me out of the articles that we covered, which one was your favorite so far? Okay, I want to know. I fully enjoyed talking about pi. That one is so much fun. No Filter says 0, so no digits. 4 for pi. Okay, you know what? At the very least, 3.14, March 14th, right? You got that one down. Easy stuff. Okay. David says too complex. No, I hear you. Danger Moose. No, Danger Mouse. Moose and Mouse, but I can see with the picture, right? It says impressive, but what a waste of time. Does humanity need that much pie? You can never have too much pie. Pie's well, for some cultures. I never grew up with pie, the pastry, right? So for me, it's pretty okay. I prefer cake. Chocolate is an absolute must. A cake cannot go wrong with that. But pie, sweetbread, that stuff is pretty good. Okay. For those catching this live, we're able to have a one-on-one here. What's your favorite dessert? Let me ask you this. What is your favorite dessert? Let me know in the live chat. Because you're watching this live, we're able to do this together. That's the novelty of catching live shows. Apple Jacks. I was going to assume that your favorite dessert was Apple Jacks, but instead it's blueberry cheesecake for the win. I said, does sound pretty good. But yeah, I like it. Let's see who else. Chocolate pie, says Surf. That sounds good. Black Forest cherry cake. Ooh, Bali, that sounds interesting. You know what? The like cherry Garcia ice cream, which is like cherry and chocolate chips. Delicious. That is so good. Tres leches Scorpio. Oh yeah, we're on the same wavelength there. That is delicious. SoCal has my heart. Ice cream, 10 out of 10. Chocolate cream pie, says Jam. Nice. I like that. Android says warm, soft chocolate chip cookies. Right out of the oven. Oh my goodness. Okay, here's a story for you. I didn't grow up with grandparents, but I always was jealous of those that did because I just had this memory. Like I just had this thing imprinted in my brain because of movies and TV shows that grandparents would always make the best cookies and they were always fresh and they always came out of the oven, right? And I was like, man, this is what I need in my life. So instead, oh, I had a handful of like people that were in their 60s and 70s many years ago, and they would adopt me as their granddaughter and they would bake me cookies and stuff. And so that's just like the highlight of my childhood is warm chocolate chip cookies specifically given to me by people that are in their 60s and 70s. Like there's something so special about those kinds of cookies, more so than at the grocery store, if you buy them at the bakery, or you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Serious thing. It's Dad says fried ice cream. Oh, that's good. Pineapple empanadas, says Marissa. Chocolate empanadas are really good, but I've never tried pineapple. That one sounds pretty bomb. I like that. Okay, rhubarb crumble, says Kat. I never knew about rhubarb until Fringe with Walter Bishop bringing that up. And he was also the very first person that got me into trying strawberry milkshakes. Television, man, it is influential. It really is. So before we head out, please let me know what was your favorite article out of all the ones we covered. For me, as always, it's always enjoyable to talk about pie. Actually, just to talk about food is fantastic. But at the same time, I am optimistic to, at the very least, know more about the UFO subcommittee. Hopefully, it will be passed if, let's say, Arrow no longer gets funding, because that report was very disappointing for people, and the government is beginning to realize that with all the backlash that it is getting. So if anything happens to Arrow, it would be nice at the very least to get a UFO subcommittee, but it'd be even more awesome to have both if possible. So I got to know before we head out, just from a few people, which article was your favorite? Oh, Andrew, bringing in the brownie points. I liked your album. Thank you so much for that. For those listening to this, I do have a music channel called Cosmic Portals, and an album was just released for that. You can find it on Spotify and Apple and all these other music platforms. Again, it is called Cosmic Portals, or you can catch it on YouTube as well. Just typing in Cosmic Portals. Before you head out, if you are watching this on a computer or on television, scan this QR code. It'll take you to all of my social media links, along with articles that I write for these shows and so much more. But if you're watching this on your phone, the social media link is in the description box below. If you're listening to this, follow me on Twitter at eyes_on_the_skies for all of my updates and news, on Instagram at Strange Paradigms. And if you want to continue the conversation, bring it over to my Discord server with 3,000 other like-minded members. Share your thoughts, your insights, your experiences, and more. Thank you for everyone watching this live. Thank you for all the YouTube members and Patreon supporters, all of my amazing moderators. You know I simply cannot do this show without you. Be safe, and remember, keep your eyes on the skies.